Greetings, living at your finest health champions. How are you doing this beautiful Wednesday? I hope all is well with you. I'm Dr. Babs, your wellness strategist, here on this live recording on Lifestyle Medicine Week. I hope that all is well. We are on I believe this is day 4 now. We've been talking about the several pillars of lifestyle medicine. We talked about nutrition being the foundation, sleep, which is essential, physical movement, which is paramount. And now we're going to talk about stress management. So important, stress management. We live in a world that is constantly stressful. And I do apologize for coming later than I had planned. Again, things not falling into place. But I'm learning to go with the flow, not to be stressed. So we're going to talk about that today. Welcome if you're watching live or if you're watching replay. I appreciate your engagement. So I would like for you to just tag your friends and have them put them on alert that we're going to be talking about stress management. Let's learn and grow together. Sharing is caring. So tag them on and I'll be right back in a minute. All right, welcome back. So we are starting our discussion on stress management as one of the pillars of lifestyle medicine. We're going to dive into a few items here, so let's get started. We're going to talk about the impact of stress on our bodies, both short and long term. We're also going to talk about healthy ways that we can combat stress. Again, all of this is just to enable you to feel empowered so that you can nourish your bodies, your mind, your souls, so that you can flourish as health champions. We want to be whole, vibrant, and healthy. And this does not substitute as a physician-patient relationship. It's just so that you are inspired to make some, healthy steps. And again, we're all doing this together. It's so that we can all get better. So the question then is, what is stress? I'm sure you all know, everybody knows at some point or the other that it's a normal biological reaction to a potentially dangerous situation. So there is good stress, and there is stress that if it stays over a prolonged period can be very harmful for our body. All right. So what happens when we're stressed? Okay, so the normal thing is when you feel like a trigger, your brain tells, it says, okay, I need to produce some chemicals and some hormones to get you ready to disappear. So that's what we call the fight or flight response. So that happens. And what these chemicals actually do is that your heart starts beating fast. Your muscle gets pumped up with blood. Everything is ready to take action. It's, and you're ready to disappear. If a lion comes in, if something happens, it's a good thing that you're on alert, you're ready to take action. But what happens is when you have those cortisol levels, as well as the adrenaline that has increased your heart rate after the event has taken place and it still stays high, that is when it becomes very concerning, because there are a lot of things that happen. Let me share a picture with you so that, a picture paints 1,000 words. So you see all the things that happen in the body. See all these things that happen. Look at the brain. When you're stressed, it affects your muscle, it affects your endocrine, your heart is also affected, and it even affects your GI tract. Do you know some people have cramps whenever they're stressed? They're constantly having diarrhea. I know whenever I feel under pressure, I have diarrhea, I have bouts of diarrhea. So there are a lot of things that happen, and this happens again if it continuously occurs, if you have high levels of of the cortisol level. So that's something we need to be aware of. Okay, we need to be aware of. Now, once these responses occur, you need to be aware of that there's acute stress, which again, as I said, is the fight or flight. It happens, you move on, the cortisol level comes down, your heart rate goes down, your muscles are no longer as hypervigilant. When you now get to the episodic, have you ever been stopped by a cop, or you hear like the sirens and you're like, oh goodness, what did I do? That is episodic. Acute. So that means, and that has happened to me before. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong? So again, you're hypervigilant. That is episodic. Chronic is where you're constantly in high alert, where that cortisol is high, the adrenaline is high. It never settles down. And there are reasons why that happens, and I'm happy to share those with you. We need to pay attention to, some people just say, I just stay stressed. That's just me. That's just how I am all the time. But it's not good for you. I know it wasn't good for me several years ago when I just stayed stressed, high maintenance, always wanting things to be perfect, not flexible. It does play a number on the arteries. Your blood vessels are, they're just really stiff, and blood pressure is struggling to keep up. So there are a lot of things that happen now. Some people can adjust, which is the alarm, right? So fight and flight. But what happens with resistance? Some symptoms that people have is that they become irritable, they become frustrated because it's there for quite a bit. So the cortisol level and adrenaline is there for quite a bit. So you just, even though the heart rate has come down some, you still feel an edge. You feel like something is not right. And that's because you haven't taken yourself to that place where you're fully calm. Now, exhaustion is where people say they're burnt out. They can't take it anymore. They're just overwhelmed with the cortisol level that is causing all the damage all over the body. And that is where we have people having depression. And people will wonder, but they looked okay. What happened to them? That was because they were in the resistance phase. They were tolerating it. They were coping. They were just maybe irritable. Maybe they had a good sleep one night, But when you get into the burnout stage, this is where it's just like there's nothing you can do at that point until you really stop and reboot and just figure out a way to get out of that stage. So what are the ways that we can get out of that stage? The main thing is there's several modalities, not one fits all, but the common ones that research have shown, that at least I've seen that worked for me and has worked for my patients, because majority of patients that we see in the primary care clinic, 80% of them actually is due to stress. I had stress issues that led to increased blood pressure, definitely one of the contributing factors. So we need to pay attention to meditation. So some people say, but I can't meditate. I don't know how to do it. Well, it's really just being still, just being present. So you hear things like meditation, you hear things like mindfulness. It's just allowing yourself to be still, listen to your body, listen to what's going on in you. I know we get busy and we're running back and forth, just even if it's just going to nature, just locking yourself. I know if you have little kids and they're shouting, mommy, daddy, sometimes it'd be tough. Life does get tough. I get it. But we do need to find time every day to listen to ourselves, to meditate, even if it's just 5 minutes. No matter how you do it, whether your mind wanders, just start somewhere. Find time to relax. If you don't relax, your muscles are going to be all tight and tense. So relaxation, whichever way you feel, is your best way of relaxing, whether it's getting a massage, whether it's pampering yourself, whatever it is, just take time to relax. Some people go for walks. I like to walk, just do that. If it's just sitting down in nature and just enjoying the vitamin D, helps your body to calm down, helps your nerves to calm down, and slowly that cortisol level comes to bay. You don't want your cortisol level consistently high. Again, it does a lot of damage. Self-compassion, you have to show yourself self-compassion. Rome wasn't built in a day, so I'm not expecting that, if you're somebody that you're hard on yourself, that it will just suddenly stop. I encourage you to just know that you're loved and you deserve all the joy and happiness. We're not looking at the past. We're looking at current where we are today. So give yourself some self-compassion, because any negative talk will not help you, will not serve you, will not help you to look beyond what's going on around you. So for us to eliminate stress and to eliminate all the lifestyle related chronic diseases that come along with stress, we have to show ourselves self-compassion. Like today, I was running late. I said I was going to come on at 7, but there were a lot of things that happened. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just take it as it is. It's not the end of the world. I know sometimes it's easier said than done, but it's something that we need to gradually practice. Okay, so let's talk about don'ts. So things that you don't want to do. Don't ignore your body's need to rest. I ignored my body's need to rest before my body finally said, I'm not taking this anymore. My hair was falling out. I know it's a whole lot better now, but it was falling out then. What else is happening? I have chronic fatigue, always, thinking, overthinking, just really stressed out. So listen to your body. It's not rocket science if things you just don't feel right. Even if your labs are fine and you're just not feeling right, this is a time for you to sit down and reflect and ask yourself, what else can I do? Don't forget every day to check in with yourself. What I've been doing now that is a new practice for me is at 12 noon on my phone, I've set an alarm where at 12 noon, it's going to check in. It's going to ring and it's going to ask me, how am I doing, right? And what do I need? So when that comes on, it makes me stop in whatever I'm doing and ask myself, how am I feeling? Am I feeling good? Am I thirsty? Do I need a walk? Do I need a pet me talk? And then what do I need? So how am I feeling and what do I need? Maybe I need to drink my water. I've forgotten to drink water. So all these things are so important. And then don't let other people's emergency become yours. And that is so common. I had a patient just the other day. She was crying. It was a grandmother, young grandmother, but her daughter, her son, all of them, have their kids with her grandmother. And she doesn't want to say no to them, but she's stressed. She doesn't have time to check her blood pressure, doesn't have time to check her sugar. And she's so stressed, no time for her. Other people's emergencies become yours. I know we want to care for our loved ones, but we have to be able to tell our loved ones that I want to care for you, but I cannot fill out of an empty cup. I've had to do that and it's worked so well. I mean, it's a work in progress, but my kids know when it's me time for me to show up for you the best I can. So that is very important. Please take note of this. Don't ignore your body's need for rest. Don't forget to check in with yourself and don't let other people's emergency become your emergency. All right. So it's essential for you to allow your body to repair and recover. You cannot fill out of an empty cup. So I want you to pay attention to when you're in that resistant phase, like I talked about. You're in the alarm, and then from the alarm, you went to the resistance. If you do not get out of that state, it's going to get into the exhaustion where you just feel you're just completely burnt out. So we want to be aware of that. Now, this quote I like. It's by an individual called Ovid, and it says, "Take rest. A field that has rested gives a bountiful crop." I don't need to say anything else after that. We need to rest. Oh my goodness, I can't say it enough. We need to rest. And rest, again, has to do with taking time for yourself to relax, to meditate, to be mindful, to check in with yourself, see what you need, to do those deep breathing. Whenever we do the deep breathing, it's amazing because what it does for us, it takes us into our consciousness. I know you say, oh yeah, we breathe all the time, but deep breathing, where you're actually going out of your sympathetic mode, where it's always hyper-vigilant, to parasympathetic, where it's just rest. It's rest and relaxing. You're able to digest your food a whole lot better. So the common breathing, there's 4, 7, 8, meaning you breathe 4. You inhale for 4, exhale for 7, and do the same. And there are other ones where you do the 4, 4, 4, which is the box. So you inhale for 4, and you count in your head, slow and soft, and then you pause for 4, and then you exhale for 4, and you pause for 4, and you do the cycle again. At least 4 rounds of that always keeps me calm, always helps me realize that the world is not about to end. So I hope that this has been helpful. I want to charge you today that what steps are you going to take towards being whole, vibrant and healthy. I hope that you would take time to just do some deep breathing if you're overly stressed. See what stage you're in. We talked about the alarm stage, the resistance stage, the exhaustion stage. What stage are you in? No matter where you are, you can make amends and you can change all of that. So I thank you for watching and listening. I hope that this has charged you to care for yourself, because you deserve to. You deserve to live at your finest. If you have any questions, I'm happy to respond. There are 2 journals that I see that has worked best. I use one of them, and I'll put that in the comments afterwards. That really helps to give you some focus on how to write. Gratitude journaling really also helps to release stress, and you want to do it whether first thing in the morning or in the evening. It really helps to soothe your mind. When it comes to gratitude journal, I always say 3 things I'm grateful for, 2 things I feel I can do better the next day, and then 1 thing that I am looking forward to. It always makes a difference. So once again, thank you for listening and watching. I want you to know that you deserve to live at your finest, because you are worth it. Take care and God bless.